Hello everyone, my name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Hi, hello. Welcome to me trying to make special editions out of my 3 books that I have published. I am so excited to do this video. You guys have no idea. I've had this idea in my head for months and months and months now, and it was finally time. I got all my supplies. It was time we dove in. So first up, you see me defacing one of my books, or as I like to say, nakifying one of my books. This is my latest book, A Favored Fae. And then I decided I was going to try and clean up some of the spine area because I noticed that tearing apart Amazon books specifically, it's kind of a messy business and there's a lot of glue and paper left behind. So I went in with my X-Acto knife, accidentally cut off a page, and I was like, okay, we are not doing this with an X-Acto knife. We're going to do this with my really, really rough nail file that I have. I have a bunch of them that I use to remove gel polish off my nails. So I have that, and that is what I use to smooth out the spines and clean up any extra paper and glue that was on them in a very careful way. So that is what I did with A Favored Fae first. And it made a atrocious mess, let me tell you. And then I went in with a second story and A Little Luck after that, which I had already nakified. I had nakified the text blocks previously because I got too excited. This here is A Little Luck. You'll notice the dodecahedron on the front, and this is the second story. You'll notice the bookstore. So if you see any of the text blocks in view, the bookstore is a second story, the dodecahedron is A Little Luck, and then we have the greenhouse. We have Mary's greenhouse on A Favored Fae. After a little bit of cleanup, I ended up pulling up a video of bookbinding just to refresh my memory on the steps of everything. I've been doing a lot of research previously with this whole thing, so I was like, okay, we need to do the mull, preparing the text block, and also getting the end papers ready. So I just kind of sat in here, did my little thing. I had previously picked out the end papers for this. I ended up picking out a beautiful kind of dark green with writing on it for a second story, and some fall floral colors for A Little Luck, and then the pink ones, which you can see kind of at the top of the screen there, that is for A Favored Fae. Now you'll see me testing in some of these clips. You'll see me testing kind of the paper in multiple directions. That is to see the paper grain. So from my understanding, and I might get this wrong, the best thing you can do is you want to fold the end papers with the grain, the way that the paper wants to fold, the way that it wants to fold easiest, and the papers will give you resistance if you try and fold it the wrong way. And if you fold it the wrong way, it's worse for repetitive use. And so you want to fold it the way that the paper wants to fold so that it folds more naturally and better. So I was testing with all the end papers the direction of the folding that it wanted me to do. Thankfully, with the patterns on the pages, it was the correct way. So everything was correct and the right way up, which is kind of what I was most worried about with this, but I don't really mind. I got these end papers in a pack of scrapbook paper from Michaels. I got 2 different packs for $5 a piece one day. They were on sale, and I absolutely love these end papers. They are so beautiful. And spoiler alert for very much later in the video, but I do end up having to redo one of the books and having to repick different end papers. And that's okay because it was another end paper that I was humming and hawing between, and I love the way that it ended up. So just a little spoiler alert for later in this video. Okay, from this point, you'll see me here doing some gluing. I'm adding in the end papers, and what you want to do when you're adding in the end papers is you're gonna glue 5 to 7 millimeters up the side of the page, basically, and that is it. You want to be very careful with this because you still want the end papers to be able to move. Some of the best advice I can give you guys is pick up a bone folder for this project, because my goodness, did I use the heck out of my bone folder, and it is just the best tool for this. So you're going to kind of go through, you're going to do this very carefully, very slowly, and that is me wrapping up, putting the end papers on a second story. From then on, we move forward, and I do the exact same thing to a little luck and to a favorite Faye. So testing the papers, cutting them out, measuring that they are the right size. You'll also notice in this clip and these clips, I leave the end papers a little bit long, or not long, I guess wide is the right way to say it, so that they are a little bit wider than the text block is supposed to be. And what I should have done is cut them directly to size. I was just like, oh, I'll do this later. Once everything is dry and everything is good and dandy, this is an easy cut, what have you. It wasn't that easy, and I really fucked up later in this video, another spoiler alert, but I do recommend you cut your end papers to size before you glue them on, just to make your life easier, much easier. And these need to be the exact size of your text blocks. Anyways, on to the mull of the project. So this is like a little bit of fabric that strengthens the spine. I believe it's called mull. I've heard it called mull in all sorts of different bookbinding videos. So I'm just using the terms that I have heard. And this is, again, just a pack of something that I picked up on the internet. You'll see all of my supplies kind of on screen at multiple times. So I have mull, I have the bone folders, I have a X-Acto knife, utility knife, box cutter, I think. It's like a more heavy duty box cutter, which I highly recommend because that makes life so much easier when you're cutting through stuff. I have a chipboard, I have different measuring things. Those are all the blue plasticky pieces kind of scattered around on the screen. I have my metal ruler, and please, goodness me, get yourself a metal ruler. Anyways, you'll see here that I'm actually pulling up my notes that I was making when I was doing all my research to see what order I needed to do the headbands and the mull. And you have to do the headbands underneath the mull just for strength and all that kind of stuff. So I decided to add in those little headbands, which are little kind of fabric-y things at the very top and bottom of the page, just to add a little something to it. It doesn't really add anything structurally, I don't think, but I like it. See, here's a little zoom. You can see me gluing with particularly a rubber type of brush. I don't know if I recommend it, specifically this kind of rubber brush. I do recommend a rubber brush of some kind to get your glue down, because I find when I'm gluing with like bristle brushes, the bristles kind of soak up the glue. In this, at least, I knew I was getting a very smooth application. And the glue that I used for the most part was this little gold bottle, which was a typical PVA glue that I found at Michael's. And it worked pretty well. I did not have enough glue. I did have to go out and get more. So anticipate, needing a fair bit of glue when you're doing this project. I was like, yeah, this is going to be totally fine. This is going to be enough. But it was not. Anyways, so yes, here I am gluing all the mull down, doing all the headbands. And again, this is just to strengthen the spine. It's to add, extra security, all that kind of stuff. I was humming and hawing throughout this whole project whether or not I was going to do something called the Oxford Hollow, which is a tube of paper to add extra kind of flexibility to your spine. I do end up adding it much later in this video, so I'll talk about that then, but I didn't end up doing it on day one. And with that, we were done the text blocks and they just needed to dry. So I kind of scattered them around my apartment and on my computer and stuff like that for a little bit. And then pressed them to weight whilst I started working on the cases, which is what I'm going to do now. So I measured a second story first, height and width, and from what I had learned through all my research, with the height of the text block, you want to measure the exact height of your book plus about 6 to 7 millimeters more in height, maybe even 8 millimeters more if you really want to go for it. And then for the width of the text block, you want to do, apparently, the width of the text block minus 3 millimeters. Now, I don't know if I agree with that completely unless you are doing some huge hinges, which, hey, you know what? If you want to do a fairly big spine hinge, which maybe you should, because I, in retrospect, probably should have done a bigger hinge than I ended up doing. It will, you don't want it to stick out past your text block too much. But this first set of casings that I did that little, it was, I think, 14 centimeters across. So I just removed 3 millimeters from that. And that is what I cut for the width of the text block. And then for the spine, you just measure exactly the height of your other casings, not of your book. So again, it is the height of your book plus however many millimeters extra that you are doing, and then doing that. That was just me checking on the quality of these this chipboard that I have, which I didn't really like, but I talk about that more later in this video. Here I am measuring out my spine pieces bit by bit, measuring, and doing some slicing. And I did mention earlier, you want to get a metal ruler. Get yourself a metal ruler that is backed with cork. It is the best thing you can do. Now, here I am doing a specific paper hinge that I've seen in a couple bookbinding videos. And it, again, just adds extra security to the spine of your book. It adds something. I don't know. I'm here for the super secure books. And then I'm taking my bone folder and I am going over it super, super securely. And then also doing this actual fold. So I'm encouraging the actual hinge fold of the spine as it is. So you'll see me increasing the paper along the sides of the spine piece to start that hinge section of the book. You'll know what I mean more when we get further into this video, if you're a little confused or whatever. And then I took my spacing pieces. I had this little T-spacer in that spacing bundle of plasticky blue things that I have. And this blue spacer was about 5 millimeters, which was not enough. Again, you'll find out later in this video, but I used this to space out some gap between my spine and then the front and back chipboard backing pieces, because you want to have enough room for a nice hinge to open and close your books. And then, of course, you glue it down. Of course, now it is time to put the book cloth on your casing. So I measured out, just with my eyes, and then of course my ruler on the one side, about 1 inch around on each side. I just mostly eyeballed this, and then I cut the book cloth from that little roll. Now, book cloth is specifically a fabric with a paper backing and something else. It has a specific adhesive between. So make sure you get yourself some book cloth, or look into how to make it yourself, because you cannot just wrap fabric around it because the glue will mess with the fabric. It needs the paper backing. Anyways, I glued down the spine first, and then I used my bone folder over and over and over and over on that hinge piece, because I really wanted to make sure that it worked well and it was creased properly. So this is where you can really see that hinge showing up where the spine is. And I just wanted to do that, and all the bookbinding videos say to do that, so that you're encouraging the right movement and there is enough fabric in that movement area to open and close the book a lot easier. Anyways, then I am gluing the heck out of this, using my bone folder to flatten everything down. And then I had this little blue thing in here, which was a perfect little spacer for the corners of my little situation, because you're supposed to cut your corners at like a 45-degree angle with like, I don't know, there's a millimeter measurement between the edge of your chipboard and where that cut is supposed to be, so that when you start gluing things and folding things over, it creates a nice corner. And you want to do the gluing of this, once again, more glue, bottom and top pieces first and then the sides. Why? I don't know. Every bookbinding video told me to do that, so I did it. It's probably to do with structural integrity of some kind, because it's the longer piece, maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe it's also to do with the fact that you are once again reinforcing that spine hinge movement with your bone folder, going in, really creasing it down, making sure everything is sticking and folding the right ways, what have you. But that is the casing. My bone folder is getting a lot of work. Anyways, after that, it is just cut and paste and repeat and repeat and repeat for each of my books as I go through this casing.
Jesus, we're in a power outage. Once again, everything is being pressed, and I will reveal in the morning. Hello, friends. It is now the next day, and my god, what a ride. I didn't have power for 14 hours. Shit was whack, but we're back. Everything's on, my air is on, we're back. I showered, I feel good. Oh my god. Anyways, we are going to take a look at all these, because yesterday I managed to do all 3 text blocks and all 3 case-ins, just the basics. I haven't done any decoration on them, which is the plan for today, to do the decoration and stuff. I do not have anything for the titles, so we're just gonna have to kind of vibe and see what happens. Maybe one day I'll pick up a gold like embossing pen and do them that way. I don't know. Maybe someone I know has a Cricut and I just don't know that. I can borrow it at some point and do a Cricut like vinyl transfer. Who knows? But what I do know right now is that we are going to take a look at these bad boys and see how they are doing, because I have last night I ended up finishing a favorite phase case in the dark. I had lit all my candles and my bookshelf lights, and I had my flashlight up where my camera usually is, and I did it by the light of a candlelight, and I was like, this feels apt for bookbinding in a weird little way. So I finished it last night in that, and then I pressed them all. I had them all over my desk, and then when I had to work today, sans power, was hotspotting and doing all that kind of stuff, I moved them all to the floor next to me. So here we go. All right, so we got a second story and a favorite fae. And then the casings. I do think, after having done all of this, I do believe that my chipboard was a little bit too thin, and hindsight's 2020, I should have doubled up on them. Here we are. So, a little luck. Needed extra pressing yesterday because she was curling a little. The end papers were curling, but that's all right. We are here. Everything seems to be working perfectly. Wow. I do need to trim the end papers now so that they match the casing perfectly. You know what I mean? This is a favorite phase casing. So some of the glue decided to, at the end there, I got some glue on the casing on the outside in 2 spots. So one of these is going to have to be the back. Probably this one will be the back because it's the worst one, so that I can, not have as much damage to the front covers. And then hopefully whatever design I have covers that. I don't know if that's going to be a thing. Alas. And then this is a little luxe casing, which looks perfect almost. Again, just a little bit. By the end there, I was so covered in glue that I was like, listen, it's a miracle if I don't get any glue directly in the middle of one of these, We're just going to take this and slide it in there for now. Oh, I didn't do her casing big enough, did I? I did not. I'm gonna have to redo her case. God frickin' damn. She's too even in there. There's not enough of an overhang now. It's too even. God damn it. Yeah, damn it. Oh, and the second stories is all gluey. Oh, no. Maybe I have to go find different chipboards. I don't even think I have enough to redo all 3 chipboards because of the way things are going. But let's see. Not really any better. It's not terrible, but it's not good either. It's so close to the edge, and that's not what you want. You want a good couple millimeters in there. So I didn't do the spacing of this right. Okay. Well, shit. Well, shit. I might have to go on a hunt for more case chipboard tonight. Go find some chipboard. Maybe I can go to my local, my Dollarama nearby, see if they have any chipboard. If not, I can just get those binders, because binders apparently have chipboard in them. Yeah, I did it with all of them. God damn it. Well, you know what? You live and you learn. So here's the issue. Here's my issue, is that when I put the text block in, everything looks fine until you look at the actual edges. And the fact that the actual text block almost completely lines up with the edge of the board, I didn't do that right. I didn't leave enough space in here when I was measuring and all that shit to make it work. But you live and you learn, I guess. Everything else is perfect. Everything else is perfect, minus all the glue stains and shit. Yeah, so we tried and we failed the casings. But that's okay. I think we can easily remedy that by just getting some more chipboard because I do not have enough. 2 sheets left, and this would do 1 book the way that this is sized. So, well, this gives me an opportunity to go and get some thicker chipboard, some better chipboard, and do this again properly. Thank goodness past me had the oversight, whatever, to get enough book cloth. Oh, that's right, it's under here. I have a whole other roll that I did not open, and I have the remnants of this roll. So I have enough book cloth to easily do another set. So past me had enough insight to at least get that in the right amount. But now I guess we must venture into the unknown. I do also need more glue anyways, because this is out as of yesterday. So here we go. Alas, we tried, and like for the most part they worked, but they are just not big enough cases, because that's not how you want it. You want your hardcover books to have enough of a cover over them that they do not, easily line up with the edges of the book, right? There's some millimeters of space between the edge of the text block and the actual hardcover. So we need to redo the cases, and that is okay because I can easily do that. I can relatively easily do that, and I just need more glue. Gonna get some chipboard, gonna get more glue, and we're gonna do this all again. As for decorations, I have these like gold vinyl things that I picked up. They're like transfer vinyls. I don't know how well they're gonna work, because I'm not gonna lie to you, I got a lot of this material off of Temu, which I know is terrible, fast, whatever, but it was the cheapest I could find to do this on a budget. And I will say the book cloth is actually really nice from Temu. Like, I really like this fabric, and it's holding up really lovely, even despite my errors, and it's all my personal errors. So anyways, I have these from Temu as well, these transfers, and I think what I've decided is I'm going to use these corners with the flowers for a favored fae. I'm going to use these smaller corners for a second story, and I have not decided what I'm going to do for a little luck, because there really isn't any other choices. Because I mean, I could use some of these really big ones. I don't know. I'm gonna cut these out, I think, and I'm going to experiment with placement once my cases are done and everything. But yeah, I'm gonna go and see if I can find some chipboard in the wild and try these cases again. What I need to do is, I think, not cut them as small as I did because of the spacing thing that I have. I thought it was gonna be enough, but it definitely was not. I think what it says is that it is 5 millimeters, this spacing, and so I like the way that I spaced it. It looked big enough, but I think like this little T-spacer thingy, apparently you need it to be like 8 millimeters. So my error, which is fine. My error. So I do have this extra little spacer, which I think I'm going to like lay next to it. That is a really big space. If I do this space, this is probably like 10 millimeters. Anyway, we're gonna experiment. We're gonna see how things go. But yes, I must go into the vast unknown and see what I can find for more chipboard and more glue. I'm so happy though, because like last night I genuinely had such a great time doing this. I lost my whole evening to it, and I don't even care because I had such a great time. So we love that. I'm so glad I did this, and I want to do this for so many more books. I think I'm gonna do a special edition for The Second Death of Locke at some point. I think I want to do one for Empire of Exiles, which would be really, really fun. Yeah, I think this is gonna be my new like craft. Whenever I have a little bit of extra income or something and I want to do one, I'm gonna do that. Maybe down the road, I do need to kind of think about investing in a vinyl pen, like a heat vinyl transfer pen. I think that's the cheapest possibility for me. One with very little space in my house for a Cricut. And also Cricuts are so expensive. So like even those little like iron-on things are so expensive. So, and I don't have Cricut like printer thing that would like be able to cut out the vinyls if I had the little heat transfer vinyl thingy. I know what I'm talking about in my head. If I make any sense at all, I do apologize. But anyways, this has been really fun so far. Actually, I'm not gonna lie, I've had a great time. And I did end up deciding last night to switch out the version of A Second Story that I was using, because I was originally using this old text block, which is one of the original versions of it. So the terms in here are actually copyright with Wizards of the Coast, like Tiefling and Furbolg, and those kind of things. So, and Aarakocra. And so I had to, thankfully, on the advice of my beautiful friend SJ, who was like, bestie, what are you doing? And I was like, shit, forgot about copyright. So I adjusted, but this is an old version of the text block. So I decided to use the new version of A Second Story that I literally just got in the mail, which is with the groundwood paper. So that's what this one is. This is the newest new of A Second Story that I'm using for the fancy text block. I'm gonna go hunt for some chipboard. Okay, so what you're not gonna do is what I just did and completely fuck up my text block trying to cut these end papers freely using the edge of the book as my guide, forgetting that paper is what I'm cutting. And this was the aftermath of me trying to smooth it out. So now this text block of A Second Story is fucked. Wonderful, I need to make another one. But what I ended up doing for the other two is taking the ruler, or actually when I opened up the book, on the back end with the little end paper that was sticking out, I traced a line along the side of the book, and then I used the ruler, I put it in right above where the text block is to anchor it along the line that I just did, which some of them aren't very straight, but it's fine. Straight enough. It's not visible in the text block. And then I used this metal thing as my guide for my X-Acto blade. And so these are both fine now. So I need to make another text block for A Second Story. All of that for nothing. I guess I am gonna use this bad one now. Unless I have another one over there. Let me go investigate. Yes, I am very annoyed with myself. Don't worry about it.
So yes, don't do what I did. Here I am again, redoing A Second Story's entire text block with new end papers that I ended up picking out. I picked out some lovely dark green with shiny gold stars, and I quite like the way it turned out. But yes, I ended up going to Dollarama and finding 3 of these binders. You can kind of see them at the top of my screen, the one with lightning bolts on it. 3 binders that had chipboard in them. They were made out of chipboard, so I just destroyed the binders, pulled all the designs off, and I had beautiful usable chipboard, which, hey, you know what? Doing bookbinding on a dime, grab yourself one of these binders and just tear it apart, because you'll need probably both sides to do a usual paperback. I think I got the spacing a little better on this one. On these specifically, I did not cut the width of it any smaller than the width of my case, but I feel like I could have done bigger spacing. And here I am doing the Oxford Hollow. So I decided to add them to my text blocks, which I just took some regular cardstock, cut them the length of my spine, ×3 in width, and rolled it up into a tube, glued the heck out of it. And now we are back to do some insertion of the text blocks into the actual casing, which is very exciting. Here I am spreading out that lovely end paper, making sure there's no air bubbles. And of course, I didn't mention this at all in this video so far, but please get yourself either some wax paper or some parchment paper. This is all parchment paper that I'm using to put in between pages so that your glue does not make your pages stick. It makes life so much easier when you are gluing on parchment paper. I know there's a lot of bookbinders out there who use just scrap paper to do it, but I find parchment paper a lot better because if glue gets on it, it isn't going to stick as easy if it's just another piece of paper. You know what I mean? Anyway, so here we are officially putting each of the books into their casing. It's so exciting. I'm so happy about it. So I let these dry. I let them press under some weight for a number of hours in between having dinner and just taking breaks. So they were sort of dry when I put them together. And I'm hoping that everything dries perfectly fine as my books are currently pressing overnight. Here we are doing all of the beautiful casings. And here I messed up for some reason. The end paper here was being super dumb for A Little Luck, so I had to do it twice very carefully. I also picked up some more PVA glue. I just picked up typical like white glue, like Elmer's school glue, and it seemed to work fine. It was a lot less tacky than the glue I was using previously, and it also was a lot more wet. So I don't know about that. Didn't like to hold things together very well, so that's why I used my extra copy of A Favorite Fae as like support here for the spine, just to keep it all together, because it just didn't want to stay together, which is totally fine. But this is it. This is putting them in the casings. And then I ended up just leaving them to press for a little while whilst I deliberated about some designs. All right, then I came back in once I had cut up some of the designs, cut up some of the corners that I definitely knew I wanted to use. Came back, took the books out of my little makeshift press, which is just a bunch of other books on top of it. Kind of checked to see how the end papers were holding up. Everything seemed to be fantastic. Everything looked really good. And then I made sure that my books were like facing, like the right side was facing up or the front was in front of me, so that when I was doing all the designs, I wouldn't accidentally put anything on the back that I didn't want to. And then here we are, kind of sorting out the different designs, cutting out different things. I was kind of debating whether or not I wanted to put that centerpiece here on a second story. This is the second story that we're working on first, but I ended up not doing that. You'll see in a little bit. I decided to kind of go at this a little slowly, but also with abandon, because I didn't want to really do this very exact. I probably should have, but I wasn't about to start getting out many rulers, and I don't know. I was tired. I was like, you know what? We're just gonna keep going, and we're gonna see where we get to with this. But this little rub-on gold situation, I am incredibly impressed by it. It worked very well, and I could tell exactly where I was and how much I had left to like press in, because of the way that it like changed a little bit as it was getting pressed into the fabric. I don't know. I think it worked really well. And I continued on again on A Little Luck and A Favorite Fae. A Little Luck's design ended up getting a little bit messed up in the corners when I was actually cutting it out. So I tried to kind of match the mess up on every single other one. It's not very well done, but hey, it looks handmade and I love it. So it works. And I decided to add these little flowers on each of the spines, because on each of the spines of my books, there are little like drawings that my cover artist did. So I kind of wanted to do homage to that. And because I had multiples of these little flowers, I was like, why not just put them all in there? So I did that on all of the spines, tried to see if they were all about the same height on the spine, then decided to use that circle design that I was going to do on the front of a second story, and I cut it up and used them all on the back. Here is the look at the final design. Now, I did not do a title or anything else. I didn't do my author name because, again, I don't have a pen to do that with or the ability to do that quite yet, but that is in the cards. I would like to also do maybe a quote on the back, hence why I did that little design on the back, just to kind of set it up. And on the spine, of course, eventually one day I will put something there. I'll have to decide what I end up doing. But here is a look at each of my books. This is a little luck that we're looking at now with the beautiful fall foliage vibe of the end papers. I think this turned out very, very well. I am very pleased with myself, and I'm glad that I ended up having to redo the chipboard and the casings, because I think this just feels better. It feels like better quality with the proper chipboard in there, or like thicker chipboard at least. And I just think it looks really good. And I particularly love A Favored Fae because the pink end papers just work so good. Oh, these final looks, they really do something. They really do something. And I am so glad I did this. I'm so glad, and I'm excited to eventually get quotes on the back and on the spines, and you know, actually properly finish them out. But just could not figure out a way to do it without actually getting a like heat press gun type situation to do with vinyl or gold or anything like that. So anyways, my friends, thank you so much for hanging out with me as I chucked my way through this video, figured out my mistakes and errors, fixed them, went through it, and made myself some special editions of my indie published books. I'll catch you in another one soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.